Hello, welcome back to another episode of Initial Impressions. My name is Kayli Pommering and I'll be your host today. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you feel more at peace. And I do that by sharing tools every other week that you can actively do throughout your day-to-day lives to feel like you have a little bit more emotional control. And if you're like me, then right now would be a great time to really implement some of those tools, because I have been looking around the world and seeing a lot of things that, you don't want to see. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of really unfortunate things that are happening. And I think your head would kind of have to be under a rock not to notice how crazy things are right now. From the natural disasters like back-to-back hurricanes and insane forest fires to all kinds of talk about human trafficking and things happening within the music industry, like P. Diddy and the other celebrities and people that we never wanted to believe could be tied to things like this, people that a lot of us looked up to, or we're finding out about a lot of these people being victims of really horrific things. And that could be triggering for you if you're going through things that are similar to some of the stuff that's being talked about on social media. I mean, there's a shortage of food happening. There's the political race. I mean, the president candidates are just, most people aren't thrilled with either one of them or really love either one of them that much. And I think there's just a very overarching feeling of just helplessness, a little bit of hopelessness, feeling frustrated and uneasy about what's going to come to light regarding things in the political world, in the music industry, kind of intertwined with everything. It seems like in 2024 so far, lots of things have been coming to light. And I'm not somebody that likes to be negative, but they're all around us anyways right now. And I don't feel like it's something that can be ignored. And so this podcast episode is going to be about how to process these things that we're seeing and to maintain a little bit of an emotional control in spite of them, and to be able to have that peace within anyways. And so I wanted to share 4 different things that you can do that will really help you to feel at peace and move through this time that is extremely uncertain with a little bit more trust, and at the least bit some strength, a little bit of hope. So the first thing that I want to say is that you should acknowledge if you're feeling shitty, that's okay. If you have been hearing a lot of things and your brain feels overwhelmed, or you don't have as much energy, or maybe you're not showing up as productive as you normally do, this is my reminder to you that your worth is not tied to your productivity. And so if you found yourself in need of a little bit more grace, a little less work, a little more just, maybe you've been kind of zoned out, I don't know, maybe you've just been a little bit drained, that's okay. It's okay to have time periods of your life where you're not quite as productive as you normally are. That is actually perfectly fine. And so if you're struggling, maybe you're feeling guilty that you're not showing up the way that you want to show up for yourself, give yourself a little bit of grace. Most of us are kind of dealing with this too right now. Some of us are dealing with it, worse than others. Some of us are more directly affected by the things that are going on than others. But even if it's not technically affecting anything in your daily life, but it's still affecting you emotionally, that's okay. It's understandable. These are really unsettling topics. It definitely affects me. I'm definitely an empath, and I just feel for what's going on in the world, and I do sometimes feel very helpless because I don't know what to do to really make a change in these areas. And I know that a lot of you can relate to that, really wanting to help but not even really knowing what to do. And so if you've been feeling a little helpless and drained, just give yourself some grace. It's okay. It's okay to feel like that, and you do not have to be productive every day of your life. So you're still worthy, you're still on time, you're still on the right track, everything's still okay, even if everything doesn't feel okay. You will be all right, and this little phase, this little bump in the road where, you're not showing up as your best self, that's really okay. You don't have to be perfect all the time. The second thing is setting boundaries around consumption. I sometimes have a hard time with this, and when I get started with something, I will go down a rabbit hole. Like literally, even last night, I was looking up stuff about Hurricane Milton, and then I was looking up stuff about P. Diddy, and all of a sudden, I was going down a rabbit hole learning all this information that was like so dark and so sad and unfortunate until literally like 5 in the morning. And I do think it's important to educate ourselves, but it's also important that we're not doing that every night and that we're not doing it all the time. And you take your time to learn things, but you have to remember that balance is important, and you are not going to be able to do anything if you are completely depleted and drained and exhausted from overly consuming only the negative things that are going on in this world. So think of ways that you can set boundaries. This is something I actively want to do for myself too. I will not be having any more 5 a.m. rabbit holes going down, the train of things that are unfortunate in this world right now. If you want to look into some of those things, maybe think about what time of day that's going to be the least disruptive for you to learn about it. If you look at these things first thing in the morning, it might throw you off for the rest of your day. And if it's really important to you that you can show up a little stronger today and you can get what you need to get done, then make sure that the first thing that you're consuming is not a bunch of stuff that's going to drag you down. I'm not saying, ignore it or be in denial of it, but there's a time and a place for consuming everything. And so maybe that looks like you waiting until you've gotten your work done for the day and then saying, okay, I'm going to go educate myself about XYZ, and then just being aware of how long you're spending consuming that media and allowing yourself to say, okay, I've been looking at this stuff for an hour. I don't need to look at this stuff anymore today. I've seen what I needed to see, and it's time for me to go focus on something else or XYZ, whatever it may be. Like for me, doing it right before I went to bed wasn't the best idea last night because it definitely disrupted my sleep. It was hard for me to go to bed because my brain was just reeling thinking about all of it. So, and there's going to be days that are like that, and that's perfectly fine. But what we can do to help minimize that happening all the time so we're not running on empty is important. So setting up those boundaries around it is going to be crucial. The third thing is having a balanced approach to what it is that we're actively pursuing consuming. So yes, we all want to look into these things that are like horrible, awful, scary, sad things. We want to know what's going on in the world. But at the same time, it's not going to be good for you to only consume that kind of media. And also too, you're putting yourself in a niche that doesn't account for the entirety of the world. It doesn't account for the entirety of what's going on in the world. So if you think that you need to face reality, all these things. Yes, that's true, but reality also includes good things too. It also includes things that are really important to us, the people that we love, the experiences that we love, the beauty that is actively happening in the world, the good things that are happening. So if you consume a lot of this negative media, that's understandable. Educate yourself, but also take time to educate yourself about things that are going right, to center yourself and focus on the things that you're so grateful for still exist in your life, the people that are in your life that matter to you. Make sure that you're having a balanced approach to what it is that you're consuming. So set that time aside to be grateful, have some gratitude, and to look for what is going right in the world still, because there is so many beautiful things around us. And this will help you come back to a state of at least neutrality, which is really important because it's so hard to think of solutions to make a positive impact, to be open-minded and receptive to new ideas and experiences when we're so hyperfixated on what's going wrong. So try to balance out the scales a little bit so that way you can feel a little more neutral at least, if not maybe a little bit better, a little bit more hopeful. So there's lots of things that will inspire you and bring you hope that are still going on in this world. Give yourself a chance to consume that kind of media too. The last thing is find a way to support yourself every single day. There is one little thing you can do, even if you feel like depression is kind of overtaking you, or you're feeling a lot more emotional, or you're feeling a lot more drained. You can do at least one thing. I mean, just 1 little percent that is going to make you feel a little bit more supported today. Maybe that is that you go outside and you take a walk for 10 minutes and you put your phone on D&D and you just take that 10 minutes for you to just go around and just observe the world, observe what's pretty around you, what you enjoy about what you're seeing, enjoy the sun, enjoy the weather, whatever it is that you need to do. Give yourself a little time. Maybe you take a nice hot shower and you just listen to some relaxing music, or maybe you make sure you put your laundry away, or you go to the gym even though you don't really feel like it because you know it's going to give you a little dopamine hit. do what you can, even if it's just one little action a day, so that way you can just give yourself a little bit more support, a little bit more love. Be intentional about that, because when you're distracted by so many negatives, it's easy to forget to do those things or to feel guilty for the fact that you get to do them. But we all have seasons in our lives in which we aren't accessible to the same privileges or opportunities, and you are not doing anyone any favors by not appreciating what you have in front of you. If anything, I'm sure that the people who are suffering right now would tell you to appreciate what you have. And so don't feel guilty for doing that. Don't feel like you always have to consume constant negative feedback. It's not going to be beneficial to you, and it's not going to be beneficial to those people if you aren't in a productive state to actually be able to make a difference in the world. So stay educated, but also stay supported and try to do something that's going to help contribute to you being overall healthy. No matter what you believe, how this is going to impact our world or what challenges that we're going to face, it's going to be very important for you to establish habits and routines that support you being the healthiest version of yourself mentally and physically. No matter how this plays out, that is going to benefit you, and that's going to benefit the victims and the people around us that are going through really troubling times. That is how you're going to be able to have the strength to show up the best version of yourself that you can for your loved ones, for the people who are suffering. And so those are 4 little things that you can do that are going to help you to just not feel quite so overwhelmed by everything that's going on, and find a little bit of peace, find a little bit of hope, and show up as the best version of yourself. So I hope that this helps. I know that this is a complicated issue, and I know a lot of us have differing opinions on what the right actions are, but I'm hopeful that most of us have these different ideas and different perspectives all coming from a place of love. And so if that's you, try to be a little bit gracious with everyone else around you and also with yourself. We're all kind of struggling right now. We're all a little stressed right now, and we're all doing the best we know how. And so give yourself a little grace, give them a little grace. And as always, I hope that you are leaving more at peace than you came.